So I'm recording now, and so I'll just plan to say something real quick, right? Just one word.
Hello, hello. One,
Okay.
two, three. One, two, three.
Okay. You're on there, and then also make sure your shot is like
Like
good
here.
with you. Yeah. So yeah, I think we have enough headspace where you'll just cut it out eventually, you know.
All right.
And then what else do we have? Let's see. Um, so that's a test. I want to make sure I got everything good. Share screen. Let's make this.
Tell you when I can begin.
And you're good. Good to go.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all you listeners out there. This is the inaugural episode of the Post American podcast. For our inaugural episode, we've got a brilliant filmmaker, writer, uh, AV geek. My God, he's a producer even. Okay, he worked in TV and YouTube and now in features. Mr. Weldon Powers. Weldon, how are you, man?
Doing good, Rex. How are you doing?
I am fine this Saturday
Cool.
afternoon. So Weldon, I have seen your movie twice. It's a party. I mean, I've known you for a while, but I can say this even objectively, it is a fantastic film. And
Thank you.
for all those people who don't know the movie or haven't seen it yet, can you explain what is It's a Party?
Sure. I mean, like, essentially, like, it's a weird existential comedy about rappers in Atlanta, and it's all about it all takes place at one surprise party where the birthday boy is running late in a sort of waiting for Godot fashion, and all his friends are waiting for him. So over the course of the night, everyone goes through their existential crises in terms of where they're at in their life and their careers and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's sort of an ensemble film, you know, something of the nature of like Dazed and Confused, where you have a bunch of different stories kind of intersecting with each other.
Well, and let me ask you, like, why did you choose Atlanta? Why not like LA or New
Hmm.
York or Memphis or Chicago?
Right. I will. You know, there's a familiarity for me just because I grew up there. So I grew up around an artist community that was mostly rappers and producers and musicians, and so it's always been something in my life that sort of defined me personally, even though I was a filmmaker in Atlanta. But it's always a culture that I feel gave me identity and gave me kind of, I don't know, who I am, a feeling of who I am, even though I'm not a rapper. I'm not part of that. So we chose Atlanta for that reason, and we also chose it for a comedy reason, I think, because there's something funny about, to me at least, about rappers that have to rethink their lives, or they have to, you know.
There's a lot of that in the film. It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Too.
Cool, good. So on that note, I think Atlanta's cool. Like, we didn't pick LA. Like, this, I think this movie could have worked with, like, I don't know, a bunch of actors in LA over the course of a night. You know what I mean? Like, this could have been that film as well. But to me, that Atlanta music culture is kind of untapped. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the LA actor version is like probably be boring and annoying, but you know, Atlanta to me is more interesting and funnier, because the other thing about this is that rappers are straight up when they talk to you about, like, you know, what they want from you. You know, they want you to, once you make it, I want you to put me on. You know what I mean? Like, they'll say that up front, you know, directly. Where in LA, like, maybe it'll be like a little more sneaky or something like that. You know, like, I think that's sort of the reason to really like depict that Atlanta culture. That was a long answer. I'm not gonna do any more long answers like that anymore.
No. That's great, man. Now I want to go back to what you said about like Atlanta, like
Mhm.
what? Because I've never been to Atlanta, but I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, what I know of Atlanta is filtered through TV, specifically Donald Glover's show
Sure.
Atlanta.
Mhm.
What is it about Atlanta that separates that sort of artist community from, let's say, New York or Chicago or LA or Portland or Austin? What's unique about it?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think one, you know, Atlanta is not, you know, Atlanta took the hip hop crown from New York and LA. You know what I mean? And it's held it for a while. But that being said, hip hop is like kind of a not the right word to define it. because Atlanta's always been entertainment industry. It's always been a music entertainment industry. So it's like yes, there's like tons of artists, tons of musicians, uh, but it is directed towards an entertainment sort of basis. So it's sort of like LA in that sense. But then the other factor that really makes it special for me is that it's a minority dominated industry. So it's essentially you know so many black entrepreneurs, black producers, black musicians that run this entertainment industry. So I think that changes things. You know what I mean? And then also again the entertainment aspect also changes things too. So I think those two elements would like definitely define what it is. And also it's the South too. I don't know if in terms of the South, like there's all these like Southern hustlers that are like trying to be musicians that just come to Atlanta because they want to try to get a hit on the radio or in the strip club.
Cool, man. All right, and like, so let's say I want to move the interview to like, what was the process? Like, what made you think this is gonna be my feature? What like, what grabbed you about this idea for this film? Because it's a great film, but I mean, it's you think it's a house party kind of film, but it's not really about that. But what made you like what drew you to this idea?
I think, well, one, like, just like as a personal preference of mine, like, I'm really attracted to ensemble sort of movies. I like movies where like you have multiple points of view that run through the plot line. So just in general, like, I love that sort of format, and it's like we definitely are taking like cues from yeah, probably more dramatic ensemble films like Boogie Nights or Magnolia or like Nashville, the Robert Altman film from '75. You know what I mean? Like it's like we're taking cues from these sorts of movies just to build like a structure for our own ensemble. So one, that's the first thing, and then the other thing is this: it's like the movie is about where myself and all my friends are at in our lives, where we're in our 20s and 30s, and we are insecure about if we're doing life right. You know what I mean? And it's like to me, it's like
I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's like that's something that like essentially every character in this film like just kind of like is holding inside of them. Like they have a dilemma if they're doing it right, and when you have particularly when you have a friend who's like successful as the lead Corey is, I think or the birthday boy in the movie, Corey Masters, like he's slightly more successful than all his friends. When you have this like element in there, it definitely it tests you. It tests you in terms of like making you question your decisions, and I think just in general, not even just having that famous friend, but also like in our social media days, and like how much we see each other's lives these days. Like I think more so than ever, we have more insecurity about if we're doing things right in our life than ever, because we're so flooded and saturated with other people's lives. So I think we tried to like talk about that a little bit.
All right, yeah. I mean, I remember because I think you had the character Cool Breeze played by Tone Bell, right?
Yes.
I did. He is brilliant. Like just sort of the way he can just sort of like he'll just he'll just lay out an expletive and then like he'll kind of complain. That existential crisis in the middle of the film where he's like sort of acts like he realizes like he's got that epiphany like, oh my god, I'm like my career is over.
Yeah.
I'm just the background guy.
Yeah.
I felt for that character. It was really
great.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And the thing about Tone Bell, just so you know, he's actually from Atlanta, so it's like aside from just being a phenomenal actor and stand-up comedian, like he immediately clicked into the culture that was the setup for the film.
Yeah. So let me ask you. So you wrote the script with one of the actors, Lamar Woods, right?
Yeah.
What was the process of writing that script for you?
Yeah, it's Lamar has been my writing partner for probably like 10 years now, so it's been a while, and we started in
for Northside, right?
Northside Comedy, yeah. So we started doing YouTube videos together, and we were always writing together, and then we rolled into short films, and we rolled into feature films that we're selling. You know what I mean? So it's like so this is sort of the culmination essentially like all our resources to be able to make like an independent film. And in terms of the writing process, it's a breeze with him because we're just so used to working together. So we definitely had a few drafts, like about 3 drafts that we wrote over the course of a year. We also were pretty loose with dialogue. So we do a thing where we actually do rehearsals off of the script, and then based upon like a read through or suggestions from the actors playing the characters, we'll rewrite some of the lines of dialogue or whatever to fit the character that got casted if they're not feeling the original script. You know what I mean? So
I think that's what Altman used to do, right? He'd get a bunch of his actors and just like play it out, or like Cassavetes. You know, like he'd do that. Okay, wow.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's just knowing that we casted really phenomenal comedic actors and like trusting that they are gonna bring an additional layer to it, and then using that functionally, be like, okay, we're expecting them to bring on the like elevate the material, you know. So and then just structuring the shoot around that, you know.
Let me ask you, like, because the film, because it's an ensemble, you have just so many characters with their own plot threads. How did you choose which characters? Because like, I feel like you could have done the movie with a whole different set of characters, right? I mean, like, did you base like, oh, this character is gonna be this character because of the actor's strengths, or did you in Lamar write like this is the kind of character I want in this scene for this party, or like how did that work out?
Right. I think to a certain extent, just so you know, like I think there's like elements of people I grew up with that are in each of these characters. So to an extent, it was like we always do character development first. So it's like we didn't really plot it. You know what I mean? Like we just kind of like we're working on the characters' relationships and like figuring out like, all right, who's important? Like who's like close to Corey? Who's his like inner circle? And like who's sort of out of it? You know what I mean? And who's even more out of it? And then kind of like cherry picking the people that could like eventually fall into like a one vision sort of night. So it's funny that you say that it could be about any other characters, because we definitely developed all the other characters that you just see in the background, and you'll never know what we did with them. But it's like we have like total like backstories for all the characters and their relationship with Corey. Like even the background actors that had no lines in the movie, like, you know, they got like a little write-up that's like your Corey's ex friend from, you know, elementary school or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's like eventually like you just make the stronger things, the characters that are stronger to the story, and then you start developing them.
Let me ask you, so you and Lamar write 3 drafts of the script, and then you finally got it to where you were like, I'm proud of this, we can shoot it. What's the process for you to get from the page to production? What did you guys have to do? What were the obstacles you faced?
A lot of it was scheduling. That was probably one of the bigger headaches, because to balance all these working actors and their schedules, like at least half of our cast is on they're regulars on TV shows.
They're like really like top notch. Like Tone Bell's been on like Flash and Whitney and Cheese Louis.
Sure. He's a very experienced actor, and to be honest with you, like working with Tone Bell definitely like he elevates my game. You know what I mean? Like he makes me like a better director, because he's like he's just on point with his acting, and it's like, okay, I gotta like make sure that I'm in check with him and like, you know, like firing off at his level. You know what I mean? So it's like. Like when you work with those strong actors, like it's like you just kind of you're forced to be a stronger director. You know what I mean? You're forced to be doing that.
And like, I mean, because I talked to you and your producer last night, and I remember she told me like it was it's like 180,000 for for your film,
right?
But it doesn't look like that at all, dude. You stretched that dollar 3 or 4 or 5 times over, man.
Thank you.
It looks. The cinematography, like, did you know the cinematographer, your DP in the film?
Lamar had actually worked with her first on another project like years ago, and he recommended her to me for a project I was doing a little after that. And and that project never we ended up going with a different DP, and she was booked out on something else. So I've always like kept her in my mind, and then on this one we spoke to her, and she seemed not only just ready on a technical and aesthetic level of her ability to shoot the film, but also like on the level of the way that Lamar and I prefer to run sets, which is like nice. Like we prefer, like, she's like, our DP like is just like super nice, super caring about people's opinions and their points of views, and she's not one of these like diva DPs that like
so no ego at all.
Yeah, and you know what I mean. And it's like that's important to me as a director, because I like to set up a comfortable and confident space for actors. You know what I mean? My goal is just to set up actors to be comfortable and confident. And it's like, if you have a nice set that they get to play around and they get to have fun and they get to work and do their job clearly, and they don't have to deal with egos and attitudes, like that's like ideal for me. You know what I mean? Especially for performance wise.
Yeah, and what were like your visual, like, what did you tell her, like, this is how I want the film to look? Because it has a very dynamic look to it. It's you obviously made sure that this light has to be used. This kind of mood had to be like, especially that beginning opening scene. Like, I thought that was actually, you shot that scene on the outside of the house with Cool Breeze in the beginning. I thought that was a set. Your producer told me it's not. That was actually on location.
Sure, like, we were hanging outside of a window for that shot.
Like, what were your visual inspirations for this film?
I'm blanking on anything directly, but I know Carissa, the director of photography, and I, like, we spoke a lot about establishing a nostalgic feel. Not to necessarily say that it's this film should feel like it's in the past, but this film should feel like these are your friends, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like, these are your old friends that you haven't seen in a while, and they're waiting for you at your house. You know what I mean? So like, to whatever extent that is, I think that was our sort of goal in terms of, like, the coloring and the lighting and making everything feel like realistic, but with a tinge of like familiarity, because you probably don't have that familiarity with them, but as like we kind of want to like push this idea that you do feel familiar with these people, even though maybe not. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
No, it's like, it feels like you are capturing sort of intimate moments with these interactions with, I think, Ashley and Tone Bet and Cool Breeze, or Lamar's character Digital E. He cracks me up. When during that scene in Corey's bedroom, did you was it all improv on Lamar's part, or did you just like? Because like that was just hilarious with the cat and everything, and then he sneezes.
I mean, it's all. Well, as I mentioned earlier, we had a 12-day shoot, so it's like when you have a 12-day shoot, like, you don't improv on set as much as you would like to. You just kind of get the song, get the scene, and you shoot as many takes as you can before you have to just move on, right? So it's like generally we only shot like 3 or 4 takes, and we would run alt lines that we improved beforehand. Like, we'd have like, okay, try this line in this part now, but that's the extent of the improv that was done for Lamar's scene. I'll say this: so the actress that he is in that scene with, Kirby Howell Baptiste, is a phenomenal improv actress as well. So her and Lamar during rehearsals, like, we had them like play out scenarios where, like, all right, Lamar is gonna be tripping on acid, freaking out about his infinity and his existential crisis and all that shit, and then so your job is to like calm him down. You know what I mean? And like that's the sort of rehearsals that we're running. And so they can build a sort of rapport with each other, you know what I mean? And and so I would say, like, that scene feels loose on purpose so that it felt more real, because those two actors are improv based, and they know how to like actually deliver written lines as if they're not written, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like it feels like the character, they mean it when they say it. I get that. Like, and on that point, is Lamar similar to Digital E in the sense that, like, he's digitally he's so sincere. Like,
yeah. You want to be his friend, right?
yeah, like he is. He's like I remember when he goes to the DJ, like, "Hey man, I'm asking not for my benefit." Like I'm like, God, I wish somebody would say that to me when they're asking me what's wrong or something. You know?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
just is such a sincerity that he plays. Is he like that in real life?
yeah. I think his sincerity level, like if he had like a comic book card, you know what I mean, and like he had his like abilities, his sincerity would be all the way up because that's his thing. Like he's like a very like down to earth sort of guy. You know, he's not as like networky in like a hacky way, like digitally.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here's the answer. He's post acid trip digitally. You know what I mean? Like Lamar's definitely an enlightened.
But he's in the car, he's in the Uber, and he's like, "No, man, I'm not. Let's just play the Drake."
Yeah. So he's
Like, yeah, that was...
I would say that's probably closer to Lamar's like personality.
Yeah, he was just brilliant. I mean, like, how did you meet him? Like, what would you guys go both to Hunter?
No, I met him in Atlanta, Georgia when we were growing up in the suburbs, and he had moved from a different part of Atlanta to our part in high school, and and we became fast friends. Like we lived in the same neighborhood, and we actually rode the bus together. So it's like we definitely and so back in the day, just so you know, he used to be. This is high school. I was the producer of our school show, and he was sort of like one of the main rappers in the school. You know what I mean? Like people knew him as like his name was.
This was his talent.
Yeah,
this was that was his label. Like you got Class Clown, you got the rapper.
And he was definitely a Class Clown too. Like he was like hilarious, but he also had this like immensely creative platform for doing music. Like he was just like he just kind of is always creative, you know, is always like shooting off. So naturally, like I was shooting his music videos back then, and like we were, you know, we became partners creatively just in terms of that. Like it's like, all right, let's support each other's sort of career. You can make some music for my films, and I'll, you know, come on and like shoot your music videos and stuff like that. And then eventually, like, you know, 10 years later, that rolls into what we're doing with like film and stuff like that.
All right, so now I want to get a good hand. What was young Weldon like? Did you always want to be a director, man? I mean, I know you're an AV geek, you know, all this technical stuff, but like, did you like, what was your first like film memory, like where you just thought, oh, it's film, like I love film? What was that?
I think I really started taking it seriously in high school when I was making all my own little films. I think I always wanted to be a director. You know what I mean? Like it's sort of boring, to be honest with you. Like I don't think I've ever not wanted to do this job.
And like, who were you like? Who were your like? This sounds so corny, but who were your influences? Like, who were you copying? Who were you trying to like emulate?
Well,
or was he just doing whatever you wanted to do? Now where you got that?
I would say, you know, like all those like '90s directors were a huge influence on me, like you know, Soderbergh, Paul Thomas Anderson, you know, Richard Linklater was huge for me. You know what I mean? Like those sorts of directors that came out in that era were big, like for me, because I mean, like I guess I was just watching their films. Spike Lee was huge. You know what I mean? Like just in terms of like me finding racial identity. You know what I mean? Like so. So sort of those were huge influences, and then eventually, like I got a little older and I started exploring like deeper into the past, and you know I got into Altman and Scorsese and like Sam Fuller is amazing. You know what I mean? Like it's like I slowly started going backwards.